That ties into something actually that you were talking about a moment ago, or a little earlier in the conversation. You alluded to, I don't know that you called it feature drift, but basically you alluded to feature drift as a concern for a lot of these production systems. The idea that over time, maybe the inputs no longer behave, or maybe your data doesn't behave the same way as it once did. And so the data sets you're encountering in production are different from the ones you encountered in the training set. What are some of the strategies that people use to kind of catch that edge case?
So I think one thing which we were thinking of doing is, can we have some sort of monitoring um, on the so when we are serving a production, maybe it is still above our threshold, so it's not creating any problem as of now, but it could result into like a bad user experience, right?
And what would that threshold be? Like some kind of performance threshold or?
Yeah, so I would think, like, imagine you're creating a recommendation system and you're getting feedback fairly regularly, because if people are not using your system, it's basically they're not liking it, right? Um, so keep an eye on that. Like, of course, there could be like local minimas, and that there could be like seasonal reasons for like different type of behavior. But at the same time, like, it's really critical to understand internally. Maybe you have a metric which is like, and this sometimes comes down to like how confident you are when you're trying to serve something to the end users. And if you see that the confidence is like sort of lowering down slowly, um, it could be a problem. And in some cases, it turns out to be, oh, this is just summertime. People are not reading papers right now. It's all right. But it's okay to be like to get some false alarms compared to like getting no alarms at all, and then a user telling you like, why am I getting this paper in my recommendation, for example. And I think a more easy, uh, I would say, like a more easy example to to explain this phenomena is, if you think from product analytics perspective, it's possible that particular feature was trying to serve one particular purpose, and over time we made changes to our application. Maybe we created some another workflow for user to achieve the same thing, and yes, you're going to see a decline over here. So you really have to have somebody who understands how different pieces are working together, and overall the interaction between these uprises and declines, they should make sense. um, and it becomes a bit more challenging when you talk about like problems which have a very long time horizon. So one of the things we were trying to do at League, we were trying to change behavior of people so that they become a more healthier version of yourself. Now, the problem itself feels like, yeah, that makes sense. But when you start breaking it down, and let's say you're trying to motivate someone to stop smoking, your time horizon all of a sudden becomes like years, versus you're trying to sell something and the next day he's going to come back, buy it from for your product. So in these cases, like even developing model, even getting the data sets, all of it is challenging. And even though this is not exactly the case of like slowly drifting dimensions, this really becomes the case where your behavior is changing really slowly, and you have to keep an eye that it's actually moving the right direction or not. Because if at the end of a year you say, oh, sorry, we couldn't help you, our customer has already invested like a year of their time, and it's not a good experience.